Hello everybody and welcome to DC Central, and in today's video we're going to be discussing a future episode and future storyline we could be receiving this season in Arrow regarding the character of Earth-2 Laurel Lance, otherwise known as Black Siren. So Beth Schwartz, who is the executive producer and also showrunner on Arrow, has recently discussed that we are going to be seeing a future episode in Arrow where we're going to be delving into the backstory and origin of Black Siren. This is something that a lot of fans have been wanting for a very long time. When Earth-2 Laurel showed up on The Flash, it was kind of a fun throwaway character, but when she showed up on Arrow and really began to grow into her own character, we have been really curious as to seeing her backstory, what led to her becoming Black Siren, and how was her life affected. We've had a few different hints here and there of different things, like we know that Earth-2 Oliver died on the Gambit, we know that Earth-2 Quinton, her father, died as well very early on in her life. So we know a couple of things, we've had a couple of hints, but we have yet to actually see physical evidence of her life on Earth-2. So based on what Beth Schwartz has said, I'm going to take that as we are going to be receiving Earth-2 flashbacks for Laurel. And I think that is something that's going to be so much fun, especially for fans of Laurel, fans of Earth-2 Laurel Lance. We have all been waiting for this, and I think this is going to be really, really exciting. Just going over to Earth-2, especially because Arrow doesn't really deal with the multiverse that much. Obviously, you could say that they deal with it on a pretty extensive basis, given the fact that Laurel is as big of a character as she is. But we've never actually seen any other Earths on Arrow, unless you count, you know, the one episode from Crisis on Earth X. Unless you count that, we haven't actually really seen another Earth on Arrow. So I think that's going to be really awesome to go to Earth-2 on Arrow in flashback form to delve into the backstory of Laurel. I think that's something that's going to be really awesome and really fun to check out, especially something different for Arrow viewers, like people who just watch Arrow, to explore the multiverse. Like say if they don't watch The Flash, they only watch Arrow, it'd be fun for them to explore something a little bit more different. Also, what will be most interesting is to see what actually is the trigger that causes her to become evil. Because like I said earlier, we know that there have been some really tragic events that happened in her life. Like when she was very young, I think they said around 12 years old, I think they said something like that. It was when Quinton died in a car crash on her birthday. And then also we know that in the Gambit incident on Earth-2, it was actually Oliver who died, and then Robert who went on to become the Green Arrow on Earth-2. So with that, we know that she has suffered quite a lot of trauma and been through quite a lot in her life so far. And with that being said, there must be something else that triggers her in order to join up with Zoom, in the case of The Flash Season 2, to become a member of his army, come over to Earth-1 to attack Team Flash, and eventually get captured and then released by Prometheus to help him in Season 5 and getting us to where we are now with Season 6 and Season 7. There must have been like a trigger that really caused her, you know, to become this evil version of Laurel. Like, was it Oliver's death, or is there something else that has happened in order to make her this evil persona of Laurel Lance? Also, if we are traveling to Earth-2, this could give us a prime opportunity for some really awesome returning characters to be showing up on our screens who perhaps we haven't seen for a while, or even just showing us different Earth versions of said characters. For one, we could get a small scene with Paul Blackthorne coming back as Earth-2 Quinton Lance. I personally would love to see this. Quinton is one of my favourite characters in the history of Arrow. I absolutely adore him. I love Paul Blackthorne, and I would love to see him return. The only thing is with this is that the scene that we would get with Paul Blackthorne would probably be that car crash scene that I mentioned earlier where he dies. And with that, the actress who would play Laurel would not be Katie Cassidy in this scene, because the actress to play Laurel would have to be much, much younger in this scene. So the only thing that makes me think about this is that, you know, would they want to film a scene like that with this really young actress, you know, just for one scene? And is it worth getting Paul back for this one scene? Like, it wouldn't be that worthwhile. That's my only question with this. Like, would they go to the trouble to do this scene just to get Paul back for one scene? Because like I said, it'd be quite a lot of trouble, especially because Paul is off filming his new show as well on NBC, which is The In-Between, which he's the lead of. So he's off filming that at the moment. Would he take time out of his schedule to come back to Arrow for this one little scene in this one episode? It seems like something that would be a bit of a stretch. I would love to see it, and this would be the perfect excuse to get Paul back for one episode, is to say, oh, this is the Earth-2 Quinton. That would be really cool. I just don't know if they'd go to that trouble to get him back for such a short amount of time and for such a short scene. Another cool option would be Earth-2 Oliver Queen. This would be something that would be very easy to do, and I feel like this is something that they would most likely do. I feel like out of all these options I'm going to bring up, this is the one they'll do. Obviously, Stephen Amell being the lead of Arrow, he is very much available to do these scenes. And also, I feel like the death of Oliver, which we know is a thing, would be something that is incredibly crucial to Black Siren's backstory and how she became Black Siren would be the death of her lover, i.e. Oliver. So I feel like this is something that's very likely. We may see a recreation of the Gambit going down. They can kind of reuse that footage from Season 1, but replace Sarah with Oliver. I think that'd be something they could do. And again, just seeing the backstory, like seeing Oliver and Laurel's relationship on Earth-2 would be something that I think a lot of fans would want to see, and something that they would be really good to develop on, especially because Oliver and Laurel's relationship on Earth-1 was never really shown that much. So it'd be nice to actually get some of that on Earth-2 and see how it was different, how they would interact, and again, how Oliver's death truly impacted Laurel. And because they have Stephen Amell there all the time on set, he would be available to do these scenes, unlike Paul Blackthorne. A bit more of an out there one, but who knows, we could see it. Maybe Zoom could return, getting Teddy Sears back. I mean, Teddy Sears did recently come back for one tiny little scene in the 100th episode of The Flash, which was, you know, Season 5, Episode 8. So, would he do it again for this? I don't know if he'd come back, you know, again, just to do one little scene. Like he did on The Flash, especially because he's not an Arrow character, he's a Flash character. But it would be really interesting, or even if we don't get Teddy Sears back, we could still get, you know, the Zoom costume, we could still get the suit, and just get a stunt guy in the suit to play Zoom for a scene. That would also be really cool. Like, we could get a little, you know, how Black Siren met Zoom, like how did that happen? Because obviously, again, Zoom was very crucial to Black Siren becoming the villain that she was. So how did she meet Zoom? How did they come into a contact with each other? And what led to her working for him? Like, what was that trigger, again, that caused her to become this villain? I feel like having Zoom is something that could be interesting to play upon. Again, even if we can't get Teddy Sears, just get a stunt guy in the suit and then get the guy to do the voice. And I feel that would work just as well. And my final choice, and this is completely fanboying out right now, is if we could get Adrian Chase back. Obviously, Black Siren, she did work for Adrian Chase. You know, he is responsible for getting her out, and basically responsible for her being on Arrow is because he broke her out of Star Labs. So, you know, again, Prometheus was pretty, you know, was a pretty big force when it comes to Laurel, so I feel like it'd be appropriate. And again, it's just, could they get Josh Segarra back? Or even again, would they have Josh Segarra? Could they just get somebody in, you know, the stunt guy to do the suit and the voice, you know, like we saw? Because all the scenes we actually saw of Black Siren and Prometheus was Prometheus behind a mask, because this was before it was revealed to be Adrian Chase. So, you know, again, it wouldn't be that hard just to get somebody in the Prometheus suit to do that. Although I would personally love to get Josh Segarra back, just because I adore Josh Segarra. I think he's so good. I think he's just such a good actor, and he was so brilliant as Prometheus. I would love to see him come back. And I mean, he did come back for that one episode in Season 6, so who knows, they could do it. My only question is, did Laurel actually know who Prometheus was in the early days? I'm guessing she did, but like, you know, when we first saw her working for him in the middle of Season 5, like, did she know who Prometheus was? Like, did she know it was Adrian Chase or Simon Morrison? Did she know that? That's the curious question, because if she didn't, then, you know, it wouldn't make sense to have Josh Segarra come back, but if she did, then it would make perfect sense. And I'm just begging for this because I need Josh Segarra back on this show. And again, if they were looking to bring him back, this would be the perfect episode to do it. We could see how her and Prometheus were able to form this relationship where she was working for him when she arrived on Earth-1. Overall, just getting this backstory episode on Black Siren has been a long time coming. This is something that a lot of us have been wanting for a very long time. Black Siren is a very interesting character, and I really have loved her addition to Arrow, because personally, I actually prefer this version of Laurel to the Earth-1 version who died in Season 4. That may be a controversial opinion, but I actually really think this one is a lot more interesting and has a lot more damage to her, which makes her a very intriguing character. So going into this backstory in this episode, where we can explore Earth-2, explore her backstory, explore her childhood, and explore the characters that were incredibly influential to her in order to her becoming a villain. You know, like I say, Quentin, Oliver, Zoom, Prometheus, all these characters who were incredibly influential in her life is something that a lot of fans want to see, and something that is crucial to really understanding her backstory, especially fans of Arrow who, like I said earlier, don't necessarily watch The Flash. They don't even know who this version of Laurel is or where she came from. They hear about this Earth-2 thing, but they don't actually know what the backstory is, so they need to really explore it. I feel like it's something they need to do, and if we're going to get it this season, I'm very, very happy. It's like I say, I think this is just a perfect moment, and this is a perfect episode we all want and we all need, and it looks like we could be getting it. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode of DC Central. If you want to see more DC content, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload, and I hope to see you guys again next time.